All right, we're talking about ideas today. This is a short workshop for the Headstart, for the Headstart Network Foundation. I briefly introduce myself. Um, I work with as a associate director of products for MoveInSync. MoveInSync is, think of us like Uber for office commute. So we are like uh, we take people from home to office, office to home. We have solutions for cabs and for bus commute and everything that has to do with office commute. And now we have also, like, because of the lockdown, since commute was not happening, we have cooked up another solution which where we are helping enterprises to bring their employees back to office in a very safe and hygiene assured way. So that's a new product called Work in Sync. We recently launched that. So that is something that I'm leading. Before that, I was leading the 10-year-old uh, you know uh, the mainstream product that we have, which was MoveInSync. um, Also, my association with Headstart, I've been volunteering for last 6 years, and currently I am on the board of Headstart. So Headstart is a not-for-profit. If some of you are new to Headstart, it's a not-for-profit company. We all volunteer for it, and the purpose is to set up um, great startup ecosystems all across India. And the mission is to create 100,000 new ventures in next 5 years, which can actually power 1 million new jobs. Right. So that is the idea that we are running with, and that's what Headstart is. UV Times is my blog where I post about product management, idea validation, or a bunch of other stuff related to business and my profession. So that's what UV Times is. You can check out uvtimes.blogspot.com. And so that's a quick intro. So I started 15 years back as a techie. I moved into business roles like about 8 years, 9 years back, and that it last 8 9 years has been into product. So worked with the likes of Coupon Dunia, which was India's largest aggregator at that point, coupons aggregator at that point. And then I worked with a fintech startup called R2. And then it's been about 2 years with MoveInSync, where, as I said, I take care of the back to office product. All right, so here's the story. We'll talk about two quick things. One is finding ideas. One other one is about validating ideas. So, and before we actually get on with the workshop, I would have so loved if this was Zoom, but unfortunately with this channel, like this medium air meet, we can't interact directly. I can't see you guys, but what we can do is you'll have to type things out more often, and that would be very helpful. So uh, so yeah, we'll talk about two things, which is finding ideas and two is validating ideas. So I'll quickly skim through the finding ideas bit. It's a little generic. Then I'll start talking about the validating ideas bit, and it would help if we can understand if you guys are actually looking to validate some ideas, and you have some ideas already, or you're working on some startup, and you want to validate those ideas. You just generally want to understand, as a product person, what idea validation is about, because that is something that, as a product person, I've been doing for last 8 years, all the time. Right. So that's something that I do all the time, like, because every time there is a new idea, you have to ensure whether this makes sense. How does it um, you know how is it going to impact the business? How is it going to impact the company? Is there demand for this idea? Is there enough demand for this idea? Are people going to use it? That is pre-building. After building, we have to ensure people are using it. If they're not using it, what is the problem? Is it that the solution itself is bad, or or they did not have a problem in the first place, or there are some other issues. There can be n number of issues because of which people may not find the solution valuable, and we would learn how that how that what that tells us about validity of an idea, whether the idea makes sense or it doesn't make sense. Yep. Moving on, I think these are the rules. To not judge, when you listen to ideas from others. So we have a closed group right now. Uh, do not, judge people. Do not quickly jump to what is a good idea or bad idea, because every idea is a bad idea, right? To be honest, and I'll next screen will probably would actually shake you up a little. Stay hungry, stay foolish. I mean, be curious. Do not assume things. A lot of things you may feel that you've heard this before, or you know this, but try to understand the ask for examples, try to understand the logic, ask as much as you can, try to make the best of the workshop. Yeah, mobile phones silent, like, okay, this does not actually matter because we are not in a physical situation. But yeah, participate 100%. I think that's what you're gonna need to make the best. All right, so this is something I typically do in my physical workshops that I've taken at IITs and IIMs. That I ask people to actually raise their hands like this, and repeat after me, right? um, so while here in this platform we can't see each other, but I would really want you to do that. That if you can raise your hand like this and say, speak out yourself, that idea has no value. In fact, you should say, my idea has no value. I am not the customer, and I won't fear idea thieves, right? So I can imagine you're not doing it, but but had it been a physical workshop, I would totally make everyone do this, because only when you say this right from your own mouth that my idea has no value, you feel that contradiction in your brain, and that actually forces you to be more attentive and more curious about why did you say that, right? Why did you say? Because everyone thinks ideas are the most valuable things, but I can tell you, every time I have found someone who is very reluctant to share their idea, who are a lot of people, I would say, are not attending this workshop, because they think that okay, if I go to a workshop, I'll have to share my idea, and then of course my idea is so valuable, I can't share it across to people, someone would steal it, right? And that is where I would say a lot of problems happen. People say 90% of startup ideas or startups fail. I can tell you 99.99% startup ideas fail because nobody shared them across, and they were in a closed mind, right? So that is where the problem is. So be very very open, share everything you've got, and not just in this workshop. I am just saying, share it easily, thoroughly, with anyone and everyone. Of course, if you see that okay, this guy is going to be my competition, or this guy can readily pick my idea, he's working on already on something, all he needs is to pick my idea and do something, maybe you can be a little worried there, to be a little logical and smart. But otherwise, just feel free to share your ideas everywhere, and that is what is going to give you a lot of feedback, a lot of understanding of whether people like it, do not like it. It would open open it up for your self evaluation and validation. If you don't share it, it's very hard, very difficult for you to understand your biases on your idea. um yeah, I won't fear idea thieves. So that's what sharing of ideas is about, right? And I'm not the customer. Again, if you feel, think of yourself as a customer. Even if you, like for example, an e-commerce idea, you may feel like, okay, this is my problem, and this is also what I will want to create for myself. Good, but then there are not millions of people like you. You may feel like that, but understand that you are unique in many different ways, and there are not 100 million people or millions of people like you. And because there are not millions of people like you, it is hard to say whether what you like or what you want to do is something that thousands of other people or prospective users would also use. So please bear with bear this in mind, that you are not the customer when you're trying to create a startup, or trying to create a product. Take any decision, do not take it thinking, okay, if I like this, my users will like this. That is the short way of feeling, right? I'm saying in a lot of cases it will work, but in a lot of cases it will fail, and which means that your validation is like a 50-50, which which is as good as anything out there. So any idea is like 50% success, right? All right, so let's start with how to find ideas here. So let's take 2 minutes and think about startup ideas, right? Maybe close your eyes, open your ears, put your hand on the chin. Would that help? I'm sure you understand that thinking about startup ideas would not lead you to any startup idea, right? So a lot of people kind of do that. Let me check if there are any quick questions. Yep, please feel free to raise hands when you have questions, right? So of course, thinking about startup ideas would not yield any good um, ideas, or anything for that matter, anything useful for that matter. So then what? So look at what is the uncomfortable in this world, what is the inefficiency in this world, what troubles you and people like you. So again, as I said, you're not the customer, but that is okay. What gives you passion about the idea is when you feel that there is this problem that is worth solving, right? So look at, be very very conscious, and when you are you know in your general routine, look at what troubles you. What is it that you hate doing? What is it that you fear? Like if that happens, you'll be really in trouble. So um, what is it that troubles you, or you hate doing, or you fear, are typically a place where you would find great startup ideas, right? So uh, that's one way to think about it, that you don't think from think about startup ideas like, okay, I want to think about like, let me think, what startup can I do? Think about the problems that you can solve, right, for yourself, and maybe for it could be for anyone, right? So if you see that you can easily rewrite this into, okay, if you have a prospective customer base, it could be a B2B solution, it could be a B2C solution, it could be a solution for students. So for example, you are passionate about doing something for students, or in the domain of education, or you feel that healthcare is broken, which actually is. You feel that, okay, there is something that needs to be done to provide better healthcare, or better education, or better financial services. So most great ideas are about making Jack healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? So that's why, I mean, it leads to healthcare, education, tech, and fintech. But yeah, of course, there would be other great things that you can think of. There could be utilities. There could be things that either save people money or save people time, particularly in business setup. If you are a corporate or a business setup, you want to solve something on for them, you can think about you know saving money and saving time, uh, increasing efficiency. Those kind of things are typically great use cases for a business to business product. So again, figure out what is it that trouble you, and it could be a simple thing like what troubles you in email. Now, like, everyone uses email, right? Everyone has been using email for last 20 years. Not everyone, I mean, some of you might be younger or may have started using email later, but yeah, email is around 25, 30 years old, and it really became very commonplace about 18 odd years ago when Gmail was launched. So 17, 18 years when Gmail was launched is when email really shot up. Everyone had uh, you know had an email account, and it became a necessity. And after Android, it became ubiquitous. Like, everyone had emails. Just suddenly everyone just had emails, right? So even if they're not using it, so I think most of the Android population may not be using email, but they have an email ID, right? So now you may think that what is it that is okay, email is sort of sorted, you can use it, but just for like very recently in 2019 and 20, we have seen two very famous startups who have come with solution. One has come up with a new email, which is very different from how Gmail works or how any other email works. So they've got a very different email altogether, which helps you work on the high priority items, and you can subscribe, unsubscribe stuff, and all of that. So that's one that was launched in 2020. And another very famous startup called Superhuman has worked up on an extension, which or not really an extension, it's a client, email client, where you can plug in with any email, but it would help you achieve inbox zero, which is like, if you have, typically in Gmail you have 5,000 or 4,000 unread emails. Those guys would help you achieve zero unread emails, or zero emails in your action items. Um, so so that is what I'm talking about, that when you look at things from, okay, there are solutions that exist, but still, what is it that people are not able to do, or they hate to do, or they fear doing, is definitely, even if it looks like, okay, it's a ubiquitous solution, you will find a use case for hundreds and thousands of people uh, you know having that problem, and you can potentially solve that problem, and there have a great startup idea, right? So look, I think this is a nice framework to identify general problems. Okay, that is one. Like, problems is something that is that's obvious, that's nice, easy to understand, that okay, there is a problem, there is a solution, and we have a product. But what I've seen is that uh, in a lot of cases, in fact, I have personally found this, that during the gossip, a lot of jokes that are being cracked about, oh, I wish there was some something like this, the casual jokes that why is there no service which does this. And I have discovered that 1 year later or 6 months later there is actually a service like that, and it is rather famous and successful, right? So that has happened. And so it is critical that if you want to start up, or if you want to even with even for existing products and existing startups, you have to be very conscious and attentive to these I wish moments, right? I wish there was a service like this, I wish there was a service like that, I wish this was possible, I wish I could do this with email, I wish there was something like this in education, I wish there was something like that in healthcare. And similarly, when you're conscious about it, uh, those jokes, those thoughts that suddenly come up from a very casual conversation, you will find that they can lead to great ideas. Of course, everything is about execution, but that's where ideas lie. So that those are very creative moments. So problems, and then I wish moments. um, okay, and then the third thing is observe what are the things that are missing today, right? That this is 2020. Okay, this year is particularly bad. But what is it that you feel is missing today? There's so much that technology is able to solve, but there are still pieces which are missing, right? There is still the smoke and the pollution problem is still around in in NCR and so many other regions, so many other cities. There are plastic, or like non biodegradable plastic is still such a big issue. I mean, these are global problems, climate change and all of that. But there are so many small things that are missing, depending on whose problem you're trying to solve. If you just look closely enough, you will find so many things that are missing in their life today, right? And something that, of course, that they can, they really want, and they know that they are missing it, right? Of Another critical thing is that there are things which may not be missing today, but they'll be missed in future. So, for ex- for example, there are a lot of things like, with pandemic coming in, there are a lot of things that the world has changed for good, right? So there are a lot of things that have changed. What we have not missed, like when you're buying a car, probably hygiene was not something that you uh, factored in, right? But future, maybe next year or year after that, if someone designs a car, or someone designs a component that says that, okay, we will give you very hygienic car, so your car sort of automatically sanitizes every hour, or every hour of operation, or something like that. That is something that people would look for, right? Or that is something that people would totally uh, want to pay for, right? Again, you're betting on future. People may want it, people may not want it, but this is where this is where the future is, right? So, and then again, if to look at what is replacing what, um, it's not always, in fact, there's a very famous example that uh, the biggest problem that happened with Kodak is that, and now it has reinvented, and now it is into so many other different things. But Kodak cameras was slumped so much, and it was disrupted by a different product altogether, right? It was disrupted by mobile phones, because mobile phones started having camera, and because they started having camera in whatever form and shape, people they it was very easy for people to meet their photography needs. And then Kotak sort of totally lost all the market that they had in the camera, um, in the camera, demand that they had earlier. So one category of product can actually replace other category of product. So what is that category of product that is replacing an existing category today, right? Another example that I like to talk about and I like to predict is, if you've seen water purifiers 10 years back. I think there was only one company that used to sell water purifiers, and 10 to 12 years back, and suddenly Kent came in and they started great advertisement, and they um, actually had great distribution also, and suddenly you would see that in the last 10 to 12 years there is a water purifier in every home. What is happening? Has water gone really bad in the last 12 years? Not really, right? The water quality has not really changed, but one is that people have better paying capacity, and other is that these guys have marketed it so well that now what felt like a luxury has become a need, right? And I'm predicting this, and I'm going to tell you that in next 5 years you will find an air purifier in every home, just like water purifier. Today you may feel like, oh, who needs an air purifier, who keeps air purifiers at home? But you will see that in next 5 to 6 years there would be, it would be as ubiquitous as a water purifier, right? So I think the marketing has already started, and the world is also shaping itself up very nicely. With COVID coming in, there'll be the danger of another pandemic and different side things, different types of diseases lurking around. People would invest more and more in these hygienic things. So that's gonna happen, and it's not happened yet. It is still a thing of luxury, but you would see that there'll be an air purifier in every home, right? So again, observe what the trends are today, and it does not really need you to do research online. Go around and have that eye for change, like, just notice what is changing in the world, and you will feel there are so many things that are happening. um, Kia Sonet already has a feature similar to this. Sorry, I missed, Sarvanan. What did you mean by that? Oh, is it about sanitization of car? I think. Yeah, I think that is what you might be pointing to. So yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you would see that like people will not, that will become a buying decision. That if my car does not have a sanitization feature, I'm not buying it, right? So this is going to happen. This is uh, all right. Okay. Evening time. I've got my tea, so I'm gonna keep taking sips in the middle. Um, if you guys feel like taking what is the time right now? Okay. Another 10-15 minutes. We'll take a 2 minutes break, and you guys can catch up on your water and tea requirements. Um, all right, so that's how you figure. Of course, some generic advice, travel a lot, that helps you develop new perspective, unlearn a lot of things, a lot of notions that you had in mind. Particularly when I have traveled, I have sort of always learned a lot of new things about the world. One is that traveling, because of your, expansion into new geographies, new weather situations, new climate situations, it just gives you so many different things to observe and things to think about. Because otherwise, when you're sitting in one place, you always think like, okay, you tend to start imagining the world as you see it, right? So if you whatever you see, you feel like, yeah, I mean, sort of world would be around this, right? But when you travel, you see a lot of other people, a lot of other climates, a lot of other weather situations, a lot of other commute, a lot of different ways in which things are being sold and purchased. You will develop new perspectives, you will unlearn things, learn things, and be able to observe stuff. All right, so essentially whatever you do, uh, great ideas not gonna come from thinking, analysis, sitting on your butt and thinking about stuff, or what you call as armchair ideas. It is going to come from doing something. So get your hands dirty, try something out, travel, observe stuff, talk to people, share your ideas freely, and that's how you discover great ideas. And I'm telling this for new products, I'm telling this for existing products, I'm telling this for any even feature ideas, not just related to new startups or new products. All right, I think we'll move on to the next section. We can take a minute of break. If you have questions so far, or thoughts, or anything that you want to share or ask, please feel free to do that. And yeah, in fact, I would yeah, let's have, like, everyone, while some of you might want to take a quick break, one by one, please come in and take 30 seconds to share your ideas. Yeah, Arzu, one by one, you can enable everyone.
Hey, Ujjwal, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, Sarvanan, you're live.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me? Is it
Yes.
audible? Yeah. Hey, Ujjwal. So thanks.
Hey.
The first thing is, I think most of the times we only talk about validating startup ideas, right? We say, how do we validate? But the prerequisite for that is to have an idea. And the part which I have at least never heard about is talking about how you go about identifying ideas, right? So that was very nice. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I don't think I have a great idea as of now, but then one thing that
All
came up to
ideas
my
are bad.
mind.
All ideas are bad. So,
Right. So I often get caught with the dilemma of whether it's something that is viable in terms of monetization, right? So that's where I get caught. And this idea was about, I saw my son struggling with his online classes, and what typically happens is they have around 5 hours of sessions per day, and when they
how
do
old?
that, sorry, he's
How old is
10.
he?
Sorry, he's 12.
Okay.
So what we see is they tend to lose focus in terms of what is given to them as assignments, or if there is, at the end of the day, the school takes care of sending across a note, but then actually what the teacher tells them is something that these people lose track of, because there's so many things they need to do, and they're also losing a habit of actually writing down things. Everything is becoming digital, right? And then that's it's efficient, but then it's not great. So the thought that came to my mind is, why not have a method where students are able to capture what the teacher is saying, but capture it in terms of notes, but then they don't have to archive it digitally. Maybe try to put it in a central repository by having some sort of option to digitize it directly instead of them having to type it in, and then keep it for ready reference. Now, why? The main problem here was that was solutioning, right? The problem was around saying that how do we make sure that students are able to capture everything, but at the same time they're not overwhelmed by trying to make a note of all of it. That's the real problem that I was facing.
Cool. Understood. I think that was helpful. Thank you. Arzu, can you get the next one in? And thanks a lot, Sarvanan, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Guys, please participate. I mean, that's what that's the pledge that we've taken at the start of the workshop, that everyone has to come and participate.
Yeah, we have Dr. Gaurav.
Hello, Dr. Gaurav. We can hear you.
Yeah. So basically, I think from my perspective, I mean, idea generation, or I mean, actually, I identifying ideas and idea generation is not an issue. We've got a lot of ideas that we want to kind of understand how to validate, and that's the part that I'm actually waiting for. But just to share an idea is, we have a population that's aging. While we all say India is a very young country, there is also sizable population of elders, and a lot of times what happens is a lot of them are probably living alone or are on their own. So they don't know how they can today. There is nothing in the environment that is there to kind of support them, and also more importantly, they have no idea how they can organize things after they are gone, after they pass. And this is an idea that actually came up when I was talking to a friend of mine from Singapore, and she had she had a elderly mother who was living alone in China, and she mentioned that she's tried to check on the on the web, and she hasn't found anybody who actually can help people to understand and also facilitate some of the things that they want to do after this pass. And so that was an idea that we are toying with. I know that it's not a very happy idea, so to speak, but it is an idea where we feel that we can actually support the elderly and ensure that we take care of a lot of things which otherwise worry them, and hence maybe raise their happiness quotient at that stage of life where they shouldn't be worrying.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you a medical doctor or you're a...
No, I'm not a medical doctor.
Non-medical doctor. Okay. All right. Thanks. Next one, please. Hey, Chris, I can hear you.
Hey, hi. Just very quick question, and maybe just plugging into idea validation. But when you have an idea and in that stage of validating it, but when's the best time to actually turn that idea into a startup, right? Or start actually working on it? At what stage does that happen?
So that sort of happens at every stage, that happens all the time. If I am to start something today, I would need to validate that idea. But it is not just one idea that any startup is built upon. And again, ideas is not only about a product or a solution, right? You have to have ideas about finding the next customer. You have to have ideas about growth. Like everyone talks about hockey stick growth. You have to have ideas about everything. Taking care of your finances, and so even if my even if I would, I was working like in my a few months ago, I was working on a commute product which was 10 years, 11 years old as a product, and is already validated sort of in many senses, because it has got 150 major customers like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and these being the clients. You would think that, okay, this idea is validated, but then there are every new thing that you want to build, you want to test, and you want to check whether this is something worth investing on, right? Because everything that you do has a cost, right? So as product folks, as founders, it is always critical for you to keep validating all the new ideas that you get, right? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So basically, there's no set practice, basically, right? It's just a continuous process.
It's a continuous process. Right. Even for one, if it is validated for one set of customers, doesn't mean that it would again is valid also for another set or another segment of customers or another market, right? So every time you change the dynamics of your customer base, you may need to validate it again, right? That is what, like, validating an idea is what can prospectively lead to product market fit. So it's a, what I would say, it's a leading indicator. It's a leading indicator of product market fit. Product market fit. There are other indicators that would probably say that now you have achieved PM fit, or market product fit or product market fit. But if your idea, like whatever like exercise you do, and that has come out to be uh, good, or that looks positive, then you can say that, okay, I would probably, if I achieve this properly, I will achieve product market fit also. So that's how it is.
Okay, and just one quick follow-up question, right? From your perspective, because you head products at MoveInSync, right? When you guys are ideating over there for, say, a new feature into a product, right? I don't know if that's coming into your presentation, but how does it work with an established startup already, established product already, creating a new feature, first ideating and then validating and then actually implementing?
It works just the same. Of course, we have more things carved out for us, because we know what we are trying to do and who for. But so it is okay. Maybe I'll take examples when I talk about this, so I think that would get more clear. But yeah, thanks for the question. I would take up some examples relevant.
Cool, fine.
All right, thanks, Chris. I would quickly rush to the next segment. All right, so why validate ideas? If you see, I would have a case of, this is from 2016. I was just doing some research, and this is something that I could quickly gather. I'm sure this is the case sort of every year, but this was a readily available list, and so I picked it up. 26 major startups shut down, and 55% of those startups were funded, right? So the reason of startups shutting down was not really lack of funds, right? So then what is it, right? So if you see, these are the different reasons. So there were a research done, and that could that listed out some 18-20 reasons for different failures. If you could mix and merge those ideas, you will figure that 21% of the startups failed due to team and personal withdrawals. Jimmy quit, Joey got married, and all of that. Then there is about 18% to, like, which is 1/5 of failures which happen because of funds and money, right? A lot of people are like stuck because, like, how do I get funding, or how do I get money for this? Only 1 out of 5 ideas do not work out because of lack of funds, right? Which means 4 out of 5 there are other reasons, right? And what are those reasons? So 61% due to lack of leverage, right? They created something no one wants, right? Or of course there are other reasons where they're outcompeted because of their poor strategy or marketing, or the market was not big enough for multiple players, right? So if you see today, there is an academy, and there is a Vedantu, and there's a White Hat Junior, and there is a Byju's, and all of them are playing in the same market, because there is enough market for everyone. And this is not like when I was talking to these guys in 2015 and 16, when we were speaking with the founders of Superprof and Vedantu and Simply Learn and Byju's, all of them agreed to one thing, that we don't, I mean, though we are competing in a lot of sense, everyone felt that the market is so big that there is like enough place for another 50 players like us, so everyone will be able to make money, even if another 50 good players come in, right? So the market is that big, then there is like less problem. But if the market is very small, then probably you have higher chance of getting out competed, or they did not pivot in time. So there have like dynamics change, you have to change your strategy. There are things that happen like demonetization or global pandemic that you can't plan for, or plan for in advance, and that's when you need to pivot. So just like I was telling you, I would not claim that as a success story, but as a good good business strategy is that okay, pandemic happened, MoveInSync cannot commute, cannot operate a lot of cabs, commute business is roughly 80% down. What do we do? Our operations team is sitting idle, our tech team is sort of looking to do something big and different. We create a very different kind of product that in the same space, similar clients, but a very different product, right? So and again, as I said, I'm not claiming that okay, this is the best way to do it, or this is a success story as of now, but at least they took the opportunity and pivoted to a different model, right? Now similarly, you can look at yeah, some of the failure reasons are because of you started something which is not really legal, or became illegal because of change of policy of government and all of that. For example, e-sign related startups in fintech, uh, the government allowed Aadhaar based signing of documents, and there were a lot of startups that started providing that facility or that product. And then one day they changed the policy. Supreme Court gave some decision that it is not strictly legal to do that, and overnight a lot of startups just vanished, right? So that can happen. A lot of failures happen because of that. But yeah, I mean, I think bunch of like, still if you see, a lot of things happen because you've not created something that a lot of people want. So that's the major reason for failures, and that's why it is extremely critical for you to validate ideas. Again, as I said, a lot of ideas, a lot of startups fail because of this. So a lot of you might have realized that this is the Nike swish, and what it means is the attitude of just do it, right? So when you get into that mode, like, now I'm not saying that you should not do it, and I've probably talked about it earlier, that you need to do it, do something, and then only you will be able to get somewhere. But getting onto a solution, for example, is not, or getting into building the product, for example, is not the best way forward, right? When you identify that there is a problem, when you have an idea, you don't start building the product, right? And that's one thing that over and over I've seen hundreds of people commit that mistake. I think I'm more proud of killing bad ideas, some of the bad ideas, then I'm of creating the kind of product. So probably I've killed more than 100 ideas, and I would say only 25 to 30 products that I've built in last 15 years that I would be proud of. But I'm more proud of the ideas that I've killed, because because of that I'm sure I have saved millions of dollars for my company, whatever organizations I've worked with, and for the startups that I've mentored, right? Or advised, that I have been able to save hundreds and thousands of dollars for them, because I helped them invalidate some of the ideas that they had, right? And killed the projects that they wanted to get on to. So just to getting on to building the product is not something that's going to help. What do we do, right? The natural way is we have an idea, which is typically a solution. Then we think about what problem does it solve, right? And this is like, if you think about all the ideas that you might have had, it would always be that you think about solution first. I mean, in 90% like cases, you would think about and get passionate about an idea that, okay, this looks like a solution, and then think about, okay, what problem does it solve, right? What is the exact, like, if I make something like this, what problem does it solve, right? And that's like, you are in a good shape if you're actually doing that. A lot of people don't even do that. So do not think about problems. They're so obsessed with the solution itself, or the idea itself. And then you think about, okay, if this is the problem, whose problem is it, and who is going to be the customer, and how do I now find the customer? In fact, and this is a little embarrassing, to find that people sort of have an idea, they create product out of it, and then they start looking for, now how do I find customers, who do I sell it to? Nobody is interested in finding this or using this product. What do I do, right? Too late in the life cycle of the product, right? Your product is already hit a sort of dead end, right? You've created something that nobody really wants, because that's why you are having all these problems, because this is what you did not do, right? You did not try validating that your idea is good enough. And that is because the natural way, right? Because you think of ideas first, you think of solutions first, then you think of problem, then you try to force fit into different problems and force fit them into different customer segments. And that is why this is the wrong way, right? So how do we do it? See, you can't change your mind or your behaviors or your life style. This is how you are. You will always come to think about the the solution first. You'll always have ideas, but the important part is that before you jump on to building the product, you have to think in terms of, okay, this is an idea, this is a solution. Now let me first look at whose problem am I solving, who is the customer base, who is the X, and what is the Y problem they are solving, right? So first look for whose problem are you looking to solve. Is it a niche segment? Is it a broad segment? And every time you come across this word called every, right, it is a bad idea. It's a red flag. Whenever you feel that, okay, this is everyone's problem, then definitely is no one's problem, right? If you think that, no, everyone in the city would have this problem, or everyone in the village would have this problem, or everyone, all women will have this problem, or all children would have this problem, or all parents would have this problem, is definitely a wrong answer, right? You're definitely wrong if you're not, if you come across this word, every or all, right? They are your biggest enemies. So do not take uh, you know all and every, like, take them out of the equation. Think about specific people who would have this problem, right? So who would be the customer? So think about the customers first. Think about who is going to buy this, who is going to use this. Like, let's say some products are not supposed useful, or not supposed to be purchased, but it still needs to be used, right? So WhatsApp probably you've not purchased, or Facebook you've not purchased, but you use it, right? So you have to think about the potential customers and what is the exact problem that they have, which your idea would solve, right? So what is the X, what is the X has what Y problem, so who is the customer, what is the exact problem that they have, and it will be solved by Z. So solution then comes in, of course, based on your idea. You still have, as I said, you still get the ideas first, but then instead of building it, you first figure out if X exists, you figure out where Y exists. So when you figure out X, essentially you have, whenever you have an idea, you think about who is the customer that you want to, sell to, or who would have certain problem that your idea solves. So you first validate that the customer exists, right? So, and this is done, we'll talk about, how you can do that. But yeah, this is what how you approach your thinking process, right? That first you think about how, what customer are you going to sell to, what is the exact set of customers. Then you think about what exact problem are you so is it, so I think, one person talked about a tech problem for, a lot of students. So now, who are these students? Are they students, again, they're not, this is not a problem for all students. Who would love this solution is probably parents who are aware that, their student is not completely engaged, or is distracted, or is not taking notes, and they are able to invest into a solution, a digital or a hardware, which can potentially solve that problem. So that is what you would need, what that is what that's what your customer set would be, right? So this is, one way of thinking about it, that okay, maybe urban parents with, with kids who are going to certain type of schools, where this kind of education is imparted. And because then we know that this is going to live long, because uh, you know right now getting educated at home, or having 5 hours of classes is probably a temporary thing. It's going to go away eventually, so it's not going to last. But again, if you're, always, good to have, start with some idea, and then think about, okay, is there scope, are there people around, like enough people around who would probably need to, would want to use something around us, or who have, this kind of problem. So then you figure out these people. If you see that, okay, yeah, there are enough people like that, then you think about how do you solve the how do you solve that problem, or sorry, before that, how do you, like, do they have this problem, right? So now there are four kinds of problem that I can tell you, right? And this is now very, very critical. And you may think that first is that whatever you think, you want to talk, whatever you think is the solution or idea, try to pen down something in the form of a problem. So do not try to describe the solution, try to describe the problem. Many a times I've, figured, like, I've asked people what problem you're solving, and they start describing the solution, right? So I'm like, okay, what problem you're solving? So the problem that I'm solving is that, my using my app, you can quickly book a mechanic for two-wheelers and four-wheelers. Like, that's the solution. What is the problem you're solving, right? Okay, so the problem I'm solving is that, you don't you know know what is the cost of getting your bike serviced, and or you don't know who are the mechanics around you, who are the good mechanics around you. And then so you, this app would help you look for them. Now that looks like a problem. Okay, now you have to think about, okay, is that really a problem, right? Or if there is a customer segment, so let's say, urban folks, who are trying to maintain a bike, is this really a problem for them? So if you have a bike, is it really that you do not know where will the bike get serviced, right? Is it that you do not trust the people around you? Is it real, right? Is it only in your mind, or is it for real? Now how do you do that? You get out of the building, you actually talk to real prospects, and you understand from them whether this is a real problem or not. Now when we're talking about problems, there are, as I said, there are four types of problems. There are problems that customers may not even know that they have a problem. Only when you tell them that they would come to know. And there are problems like their bike not being efficient, like their diabetes medicine having side effects, like their children, or online classes having a bad impact on the long term um attention span of their children, right? So these are real problems, but nobody really knows about it. They might think that probably there is such a problem, or they might believe you when you tell them, but they don't really know that there is this problem exists. And this is these kind of problems are called latent problems, right? Nobody knows that there is a problem like that. If you're solving a latent problem, you are in for a very very long haul. You need hundreds and thousands of dollars to market your product. You need to play a very long term game. It may take 2 to 5 years to establish in people's mind, in your prospects mind, that there is a problem that needs to be solved. And then it would probably they would purchase and start using your product. But um, but then so but but yeah, that's how it is, for a latent problem, the problem that people do not know about. But then there are active problems, or there are more urgent problems that people are trying to solve. So there is another category of problems which is called passive problems, right? So what is a passive problem? Is problems that people know about, but they're not doing anything to solve them. Now that is again a very very important thing to understand, whether if people have a problem and they know about it but they're not doing anything to solve it, are they going to pay for, if you go and tell them that, okay, I've got the solution, and you have a problem, so the problem is also there, I have solution also, but they're like, yeah, I know that I have this problem, but like I don't really care much about it, right? So then, are you solving that kind of problem? Then there are other ways that you'll have to think about, in which you can make this problem really cool, and really, you have to amplify this problem in their mind so much that they start to solve it. Typically your health bands, right? So now people are aware that, okay, they're getting fat, but yeah, only when you put it in a health band and you make it cool, is that they want to buy it, right? So then they were not doing anything about it, but now because they've seen health bands everywhere, they also want to buy one. And it's a typical passive problem kind of product. Then and I'm not saying that you don't sell, you don't create solutions for a latent problem, or only create a, like people say that create a disprin, not a vitamin. See, vitamins is also $1 billion business, and so is a painkiller, right? So both sell. It's just that only when you know what you're trying to sell is when you would be able to sell it or package it properly, right? So that's very critical, that you understand that what category of problem you're solving. So I talked about latent problems, passive problems, and then the third category is, of course, um, called active problems, where people are uh, having inefficient workarounds to problems. So they need something, but they're not really solving it elegantly. And when you come up, when you show up with a very elegant solution, people may want to invest some little money and get a better solution, right? So you will find that it would be easier to sell, or people would purchase. And then the final category of problems is an urgent problem, where people just they know they have a problem, they know there is a solution out there, just looking for giving the money, and they want to solve. So it's typical painkillers. You want to pay money, get solve your pain, right? So these are the different kinds of problems, and it's very important to understand what problem you're solving, so that you then can think about packaging your solution in that way, right? So X has Y problem, and it will be solved by Z. And now how then now the solution that you have created, who you are creating for, what problem are you trying to solve exactly for them, and then what you create is potentially going to fit that problem and that segment really well, right? So if you do it this way, if you start thinking this way, if you start talking to people in this way, in these steps, you're better likely to know what you're more likely to get onto a reasonably validated or valid problem, valid startup idea, right? So now, how to validate startup ideas? I mean, I've been talking about that, but again, quick things. When you have an idea, what do you do? Quickly try to find out who else is working on such an idea. Google, a lot of times, particularly with Google search, you like, I've seen people try to search something, that phrase that comes in their mind, and they don't find it, and they feel like there is nothing like that exists. But I would say, do a better research. Try to also look at other markets, right? So if you think that there is such a problem, is there a solution to it in your market, in some other market? Typically look at Europe market, US market, or some other market, where Southeast Asian market, Middle Eastern market, where different kind of problems are being solved differently, right? So use Google, use the search engines available, to figure out what is the what are the other similar solutions that exist, or what are the other similar problems that exist and being solved in different ways. That would give you a lot of good insight. So extremely critical that you do that. I am actually surprised that a lot of people do not do this. They have an idea, they start building, and then uh, and then they are surprised when I tell them that, okay, there are two startups that I know who are working on this, and they're like, oh, okay, I didn't know. Boss, you've missed the bus. I mean, you did something that you could do easily sitting anywhere, and using on your mobile phone, you could just search better. So again, don't get hung up on one phrase or one small thing. Do a thorough research on search engines, to find out who can potentially be working on this idea or around this idea, somewhere closer to what you are thinking. Then another way or another framework to use is, list down all your riskiest assumptions. So what is the most risky assumption, which, if that assumption is true, then of course you have your idea will fly. But if that assumption is false, that okay, boss, you don't really have you're not onto a great opportunity. Right. So quickly list down your riskiest assumptions. That, okay, if you're into education tech, if you're into healthcare, or whatever utilities that you want to create, you may want to list down that, okay, is this idea will be, or this startup would really be successful if this is true. What is this is what you have to write down. That there are 100,000 parents in the world, or in that limited geographical area. It could be South India, or North India, or Central India, or whole of India, or Southeast Asia, whatever your immediate reaches. Just think about what is the assumption that would what that is most risky. That if that is not true, your whole startup idea goes for a toss, right? So what is that assumption? So someone shared that education tech idea that okay, parents are worried about their child being distracted. So just write that down, that okay, if you find that so that's a riskiest assumption, that parents are worried about child being distracted, or child gets distracted because of long hours of classes, and they're not able to keep up with the classes because they're not taking notes and stuff like that. So what is that risky, the most risky assumption that you have is that that kids have this problem. Kids of 10 to 15 years have this problem, or parents think, at least parents think that they have this problem. So you note down that assumption, and that is now what you have to test. That is now what you have to understand, whether this is true or false. If that is true, your idea can potentially you can do more work on it. If that is false, then that at least that idea is definitely not going to work. You to maybe think about some other idea, and in fact that is the great process. And I think Chris asked a great question about that. What is the process that we follow when in existing projects and existing startups and established products? I think this is the process, that when we talk to customers, and this is the key practice, that you talk to customers, talk to potential customers, and understand their key points and pain points relevant to what you, of course, what your offering is. I mean, they might have a different kinds of pain in their life, but what you want to understand is what you are concerned about, right? So what are the key pain areas, or what are the assumptions that you have around their problem? Just talk about that, right? And what is the great way to talk about is not like you go and try to sell them your solution, because that if like, okay, I'm trying to build something, do you feel it's a good idea? That's like a you know it is not a great way of doing it, because it depends on how that guy likes you, or what is their potential to validate or think about great ideas. In fact, this is what happens a lot. Like after these workshops, a lot of people come to me and ask me about, okay, what can I brainstorm with you? I have this idea, and I'm like, dude, like, I can't tell you whether this is a good idea or bad idea, because as I said, every idea is a bad idea. So really important part is, if I'm not your potential customer. If I'm your potential customer, of course I can tell you whether I have this problem or not. But again, I can only tell you this. So there are 2 3 things when you talking to customers that you can take care of. One is, don't ask them if questions, that if this is there, like if I give you this, would you buy? If you were in such a situation, what would you do? That's not going to give you good answers, right? That is, people are very bad at imagining situations, right? You need to ask them, what did you have this situation in past, and what did you do, right? That is what is going to give you some real insights, that when were you in this situation last time, and what did you do when you were in such a situation. So if they've not had such a situation, then don't ask them to imagine. Then they're not your customer, forget them, right? Leave it at that, conversation over, go to the next person. That's it. It is hard, but that is it. You have to do that. You ask them this simple question. If you're trying to solve a problem, you have to ask them, have you faced such a situation? Do you think there is such a problem? And if they say that, yeah, uh, yeah, I'm sure, do not force feed that, no, 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 there is this problem, you don't know about it, but there is this problem. Then you're lost it. Then you're not actually testing anything. Then then you've started selling. So do not sell. List down your riskiest assumption, talk to your customers, and try to understand what their real pain points are, without feeding them about your thoughts and your solutions, right? And that is how you would get insights, right? So make them talk. right? Look for stories, and I think the last two words are really critical. Look for their hopes, dreams, and fears, right? So that is where you would understand. You'll get like lots of insights and lots of great new ideas. So every time I think I have gone talk to customer to validate some idea, I have come back with 2 3 more ideas, and whether that idea got validated or not is immaterial, because I've got another 2 3 new ideas to think about, validate from other customers maybe. So and that only happens when you do it right? So for example, if you want to do something in healthcare, and if you say, okay, there is this lots of elderly, you must, so my, so for example, my I have a mm, you know elderly mom, and like, if you tell me that, okay, of course you're concerned about your mom, what if there is a service which takes care of her health, and which takes care of her when she's alone. uh that is like asking, we call it candy questions. That's like asking a child that, do you want a candy? The answer is always going to be yes, right? So if you don't put your question or solution in a form of candy, and offer it to someone, that this is what I, if you have a problem, if you think I am the prospective customer for, or anyone is the prospective customer for that solution, ask them. If, for example, in this elderly's thing, that, okay, do you have parents? Yes, I have a mother. Okay, what is the what's her age? She's 65. Does she live alone? Yeah, sometimes she lives alone, sometimes she lives with me, but yeah, sometimes she lives alone. Okay, so like, what kind of concerns do you have about her living alone? Oh, well, no, not really. I mean, my cousin actually just lives, in the next adjacent house, so we don't really have much concerns. So they typically, manage, that they talk all the time, so keep checking in on my behalf. So don't really have a problem. That's it. End of conversation. I'm not your customer. Don't engage further. Right? Don't ask me to imagine what if your mother was living alone, and what if your cousin had gone on a vacation for 15 days. What would you? I don't know. What would I think? Right? I am not your customer. Switch on, move on to some other person, ask some other person, because there are, maybe you should have a list of another 10, 15, 20 prospects, right? So do not build candy questions when you're talking to customers. Do not, and no surveys. Yeah, I missed that point. So a lot of people actually don't know how to talk to customers, so they build on a nice survey. They will send it to random folks on the WhatsApp groups, and then 15, 20, 30 people would respond, and they will come saying, okay, 30% of people said that they would love such a service, and that's why idea is validated. Bullshit. Do not trust those surveys, because they don't know you, you don't know them. They don't have any context of what you want to build, or what you were trying to ask. It's basing something on a online survey is really waste. So please do not do that. Talk to people, real people, on phone, on in person, and try to validate, or video calls, in fact, Zoom calls, and try to ask them these questions. Keep these things, and don't ask them candy questions. Don't ask them to imagine stuff, and then ask them, look for stories, look for what their hopes, dreams, and fears are around your relevant area of problem and solution. Okay, another way of validating ideas is to think primitive, right? Don't think in terms of, okay, what, like, if there is I just build an app for this. Imagine if the smartphones did not exist, right? Would people still have that problem? And if yes, how would this solve it, or how would you solve it, right? So for example, let's say if milk delivery, every day getting milk, fresh milk at your doorstep, if that is a real problem, and that really is, like, that's like hundreds of milkmen around, thousands of milkmen around, who deliver milk every day to doorstep. So you know that that problem exists and people pay for it. But let's say you have some kind of idea in some other, that in some apartment complex or whatever, you have this idea. Do not start creating or start building the app from start. First validate if people really want to pay for such a service. And how do you do that? It would be easy. Just give them a phone number, right? That, okay, if you want milk delivery, here's this phone number. See how many phone calls you get, right? Imagine there were no apps and no smartphones and all that. What would you do? You would do it on, just on phone calls, right? So just, probably distribute phone numbers and see how many phone calls you get, how many people inquire. Another thing, that we sort of do sometimes is create fake backends, right? So there is no backend, the feature does not exist. We would just create a link which says that, okay, this, that says that, okay, there is this feature coming soon, or no, there's just this feature, and then the people click on it. We tell them that, oh, this is coming soon, this is not there yet, right? But what we get is how many people are showing interest in by clicking on that, right? So that is one way of, without building testing, that people will are interested, right? So that is just one way of testing. But again, as I said, think primitive, that, okay, if smartphones did not exist, if internet did not exist, if phones did not exist, how would you then validate that there is this problem? So try to think around those lines, do some sort of run some sort of experiment, and then what that would yield is, you'd be able to know whether the idea is valid or not, right? Again, so CEO of Freecharge, or ex-CEO of Freecharge, now CEO of Cred, a very famous guy, Kunal Shah, he has a theory called, which he calls Delta 4 theory. So he talks about these 3-4 attributes of great ideas, and he says that, okay, if something, whatever you're creating is, 4x, at least 4x better in efficiency, or the delta of the efficiency of A versus B is 4, your idea is likely to get successful, right? So he talks about these attributes of this idea. Is it irreversible, right? Once you try this out, you will not go to the older ways. Does it give you a UBP, or a unique bragging proposition? Is it worth bragging about, right? So that again is like a really wonderful thing to see, that if people want to brag about such a thing, right? So Truecaller, for example, IRCTC, for example, they, nobody marketed them. Everyone knows about them because someone told you about it, someone, and you told someone about it, and that's how it grew, right? So because you feel that, you feel smarter when you share good products to people. So does your product, does your startup idea have that kind of bragging proposition? And again, people have high tolerance towards it, right? Are people okay with for that, taking that service, or for taking that solving that problem? Are they okay with a crappy product? So IRCTC was crappy like 15 years back, but still thousands of people used it, and it was crappy for probably still 4, 5, 6 years back. It was really, really crap, but like still millions of people used it. I think still there are problems with it, but it's much, much better than what it was 15 years back. But yeah, now I think you can't take really that example. But for 15 years, people, or for 10 years at least, people have tolerated that product, right? Um, and that's true for, like, if you can think of it, that's true for a lot of existing products now, right? Gmail, for example, that's the most basic email that you can get, and people are using it and they're tolerating it because it works. It just solves their problem, right? There is nothing better, much better than that that they can think of, right? So they'll not go back to writing uh, posts, right, or postcards. So people have high tolerance. So even if it is not amazing, even if it fills your day with spam, it's okay, because people are tolerant, because it is so efficient otherwise, that than the other options that you have, that you use it. So these are, that's another framework of validating ideas. There's another approach on how you can think about it. And then there are some other thoughts around validating ideas that create an MVP, like minimum viable product. Everyone talks about it. I think it should be renamed as minimum viable experiment, because it may not really be a product altogether, right? A lot of people and a lot of ideas that we have, we sort of try to solve it through Excel, right? So ours is a B2B product, and a lot of ideas potentially get solved without building the product, or by creating some hack on Excel or spreadsheets. We first try it out. Okay, if this works, or this output looks relevant, then we see if you want to build it. So if this does not work out really well, or this does not really, clients do not appreciate this, then there is no point building such a thing, right? So that is the idea that we run with. That's how we do our MVPs. Do a lot of customer development. So again, this is probably a very, very big topic in itself, customer development. You should probably note it down. Look up on the internet what is customer development. And essentially is about talking to customers before you build the product. You have your entire community of customers ready to purchase it, right? So that's what customer development is about. And how do you do that? It's a lot of stuff on internet, so go read that. Sell the product. So a lot of crowd funding opportunities are available. A lot of companies provide that. Okay, you a facility where you don't need to build the product or sell the product directly. What you can do is you can potentially create a campaign, an ad campaign, where you start selling the product. And only when you find that, okay, there are 1,000 backers or 10,000 backers, or 20,000 people who purchase this product, is when you start building it, right? So you tell them that, okay, this is going to solve the problem, and then you figure out that yeah, if it is sold already, then you can build it, and you can start building it. So you can start selling it more, take it to a different market, get it to more people, right? So yeah, that's how there are some other ways of validating startup ideas. And that's it. Thanks a lot. That's all that I had about this topic. Thanks a lot for your patient listening, and again, I'm up to take more questions. I think I exceeded time by about 10 minutes, but yeah, I think we also started about 5 minutes late. Yeah, and you can always reach out on this email ID or on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to connect and talk more about specifically your ideas, and like how we can like how you can test your assumptions, or how can you talk to your potential customers.
All right then. Thanks a lot, Ujjwal. It was a really deep session, and we have a hand raised. Would
Okay,
you like to
sorry,
take the question?
David. I'm so sorry. I would have to, end the session now. But yeah, as I said,
Okay.
here's the email and LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be able to, connect.
David, it would be best if you could connect with him offline. We are 15 minutes late now, so we'll end it here. Ujjwal, thanks for taking this session, and I hope everyone had a lot of things to learn actually. Yeah, thank you for joining, guys. Have a good evening.
All right, thanks a lot.